basketball analysis with over 70 years combined experience.
The Bob Ryan and Jeff Goodman podcast is brought to you by Prizepicks and the Gametime app.
It's time for the Bob Ryan, Jeff Goodman, Tanguay along for the ride pod, brought to you by Prizepicks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network. Pick more, pick less with Prizepicks. Now, Mr. Goodman, as one would imagine, is very busy because of the NCAA tournament. Bob's going to talk about the tournament coming up. Bob never loses his youthful exuberance for March Madness. As I always like to remind people, when Bob had his heart attack, he said, the timing was perfect because I can watch the tournament in recovery. That is a true basketball optimist. But first, we need to start with the Celtics. Their 50th win. They won with both their guys sitting down against Brooklyn, Brown and Tatum. And just, let's talk about the guys in the middle for a minute, Bob. Like Porzingis, he's had two very good games, but they're also trying to do something with two big men. You know, what do you think about that?
Well, first of all, that was a show of disrespect for the Nets by sitting out both Tatum and Brown last night. Seriously, that the Nets took it, and I think they took it that way and stayed in the game a long time. You know, the game was but anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there. You wonder if they would have done that if they were playing somebody better. I don't think so. Anyway, but they got away with it, and that's fine. And one reason they did was Baylor Shireman. We'll get to him. The big men thing. I as you know, and as I hope some of our audience knows, I've been a booster of Kornet for 2 years. I think Kornet is what he is. He is a backup guy, but he's a good one, and he knows what he's doing. And I think he knows who he is, and I think he's happy being here. And I think he's provided a service to this team for 2 years, and never more than right now. He's an old-fashioned big who plays like a big. You know, he's not a floor-stretching 4.5. He's like the modern bigs are. He's a real big man playing big. Kata is a young lad with a big body who's learning how to play this game at this level, and I think will carve out a career as an auxiliary player for himself for, you know, a good career. I think he's going to have that. They've got, and what it all adds up to for Joe, and he's saying this out loud, flexibility. I'm trying to develop a team for the playoffs that will enable us to go in different directions at different times as the situations occur. And I think that's the big message here, that they don't have to, I mean, let's face it, he's realizing that some night you can't win on the three and exclusively. And he's getting big men who are going to help him win games and on nights when they need more than just three.
Oh, real quick, I just thought of this. On topic, off topic, but I just saw Jaylen Brown commented on the potential sale. Do you think this has any impact on the players?
The what now?
Jaylen Brown he commented on the potential sale. They got 4 new owners.
Oh.
And he just does that matter to these guys?
Yes. I think they know that they've had it pretty damn good. This has been a terrific ownership, right. and they've been run so expertly well with good choices at the front office that they're making. Danny Ainge and Brad Stevens have served this team very well over the last 20 years, and I think they like the stability of the organization. I think they like everything about it. Yeah, I think they're a little bit concerned that you don't about the unknown. There's no way you know how the next ownership is going to react, unless, of course, it's Steve Pagliuca. That right. Is the head man, which they're probably hoping for. But yes, I think that a thoughtful player, they know how good they've had it, and I think they want to hope that they can continue it that way. That's my take.
Well, this current ownership under the Grauspecks, it's been all about winning. I mean, that's it. Period. They obviously have put their money where their mouth is. And now they're about to make a lot of money with the sale, so good for them. Bob, NCAA tournament, go!
My take is, a couple of things. I think it's clearly a year where there's a lot of possibilities. I used to say for years, my big theme was the Final Four has got 3 chalk teams and a mystery guest more often than not. I don't see a mystery guest this year.
Right.
I'll be real surprised if we have a mystery guest. We've got just in the SEC alone, all the talk all year about how great the SEC was, how deep it was, how they were going to get X number of teams in the tournament, and it all came true. And they have Florida could win, Auburn could win, Tennessee could win, Alabama could win. They're good enough to win, right there. Those four, okay. There's four. Michigan State's good enough to win. I don't know. Duke certainly is good enough to win. I don't know about St. John's, but we'll see how good they are. We're going to find out. But they're the best St. John team in 20 years or 25 years or 30 years or 40 years if you go back to 85. So, I think it's a very exciting and interesting tournament. And yet there are going to be the early round. We're going to have, like on my bracket, I picked a number of upsets. Just you're always trying to identify that is, well, if you call them upsets, I don't think there's an upset till you get to 4-13. I really don't. I truly believe that don't talk to me about upsets if it's 8-9 or 9-8 or 10-7. Anyway, but I'm looking forward to this tournament. Now the big if on the tournament, well, one of the big ifs is the health of Cooper Flagg. I mean, Duke, how good is he going to be? We don't know. Now in my bracket, I picked Duke to win on the assumption that he will be healthy enough to be what we've seen. But I don't know that for sure. It's a very shaky pick, I can tell you that. But I am looking forward to it. And there's by the way, and one of the initial controversy was Carolina getting into the tournament at all when they were 1-11 or what they were against quad one opponents. And then they went, and I was one of the many people, I'm sure, Gary, who picked San Diego State to beat them. Guess what? Carolina wins by 28. And they're now entered. They've now entered with the classic boulder on the shoulder. So maybe they're going to be dangerous now just for that reason.
Has the change of the game, the college game, financially, and with the transfers and the portal and the players being paid and the lack of roster consistency, has it hurt the product at all?
No. All the controversy, and I'm part of it too. I don't like what's happened to college sports. I don't like the drift of football and basketball. I don't like the money. I don't like the NIL and the portal and the vagabond athletes who are going to 3 schools in 4 years. And in at least one case, we got documented by my colleague Dan Shaughnessy in the Globe this morning. 4 years of 4 schools in 4 years. That this is a travesty. This is not the way it should be. We all know that. You know what? The competition's here. Shut up. The fact is that the games, people still love the games. We still love the product. I'm an enabler. I'm a professional enabler. I admit it. I'm a career serial enabler. I can decry all these ills and drift. Now we're here. Too late. We'll talk about this other stuff when it's over. I love the competition. America wants this. America is the only country on the face of the earth that does this. The only country in which the institutions of higher learning provide serious entertainment for the masses. Okay, that's one of the functions they've chosen. No other country. Don't talk to me about Canada. It's Division III. Nobody cares about how college sports in Canada to the extent they do in America. Not even close. And in Europe and South America and all, in Asia, there's no such thing as interscholastic competition as we know it. It's all about going join a club. If you're an adolescent athlete, you join a club. That's what you do. You don't. It's not your school. That's your avenue. Okay. Only America does this. And why does it persist? Because America still wants it. Okay. And it's not. So it's all about the packaging now, Garrett. Of the product. It's the packaging of the product. The product is no different than it was in a sense for us, an interest in the tournament than it was 10, 15, or 20, or 30, or 40, or 50, or 70 years ago when I first discovered it. Okay, it's the packaging, and I'm not saying it's a good thing. Or believe me, we'll have this discussion when it's all over. But until it's over, I don't want to hear about it. I just want to tell you that I love the games.
God bless Bob Ryan. Real quick break here. Prizepicks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings, Prizepicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less, and it leads 2 players for a shot to win up 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long with Prizepicks. And on Prizepicks, you can mix and match player projections with different sports. Combine your favorite basketball players with players with baseball, hockey, esports, and so much more. Prizepicks also offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this sports season. Prizepicks has weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prizepicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. Don't miss your chance to cash in as the league's best fight for playoff positioning. Like Luka, good for 25 points or more. Jason Tatum, more than 8 boards. Jaylen Brown, more than 4 assists. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prizepicks. Run your game. Okay, Bob. The Warriors, don't look now, have won 15-17, and they seem to be winning games without Steph Curry.
Well, they made the big pickup, and he is delivering. Jimmy Butler is the Jimmy Butler that we knew in Miami, specifically because he's bounced around because he's Jimmy Butler, and they should enjoy every day of Jimmy Butler happiness that you get, because you don't know when it's going to end. But right now he seems to be happy, and they're playing great with and they won a game last night without Curry, and Butler. No, they're and one thing I think I called this. I want to pat myself on the back. I think Draymond Green is a revived person. I think he loved this deal. I think he loves playing with Butler. I think he's now back to being the Draymond Green that won rings. Pretty much,
engaged.
And that's important. Also, they're getting a little restoration in the center. Kuminga, Kuminga is back, and no, he could turn out to be a pretty damn good player. And I think now they've got some inside presence that they lack. They're going to be a factor in the West. I mean, they're going to be a very difficult out, I think, in the West for whomever.
It's a sad week in the NBA. When I first started watching the league, as I've told you before, to make you feel older, the first year I truly remember was 74 when the Celtics were in the playoffs, 73 a little bit. But I remember Slick Watts, and Oliver Miller, of course, came later. We lost both of them. But I remember Slick Watts and the headband and the Seattle Supersonics. And just your thoughts on the passing of, first we'll talk about Slick.
Slick Watts has got a niche in NBA history. He's got a niche in American cultural history. I really believe this, okay? It's a wonderful story. It's worth a lot of attention. Here's an unknown guy from a school that we didn't know existed at the time, Xavier University of New Orleans. It's a small Catholic school that I did not know existed until this kid showed up in the NBA. He was not drafted. It just so happened that his coach was Bob Hopkins. Who's Bob Hopkins? Well, he had a brief career, or somewhat, look, I don't know, I'll have to look it up exactly, but he was an NBA player with the Syracuse Gnats in the 50s. He's Bill Russell's cousin. And he recommended Slick Watts to the then coach of the Seattle Supersonics, Bill Russell. That is the kid's entree into the NBA. Absent Bob Hopkins's relationship to Bill Russell, there is no Slick Watts story that we know. Okay. His name is Donald Slick Watts. He's a 6'1" guard. He goes to the Sonics, and Russell likes him. He shows Russell some stuff. And the long story short is he turns himself into a viable player who actually led the league, was the first person in NBA history to lead the league in steals and assists the same year. Okay. And he ingratiates himself into the team and the league and the city, the cultural. Now, he pioneered two things in the NBA. He was the first shaved head and the first headband, and they were simultaneous. He had a childhood situation that caused him to lose his ability to grow all his hair, and he decided, I'm shaving my head. Now, a lot of people, people think that basketball was invented, when they were born, or when they were, and they think maybe it was Michael Jordan who became famous for the shaved head. I'm telling you right now, millions of shaved heads in America of ordinary people would not have been shaved before Don Watts made it possible. Right. He's the pioneer of the shaved head. I'm telling you right now, in America. And people don't know this, but I'm telling you, that's where it got popularized was the shaved head, was Donald Slick Watts. Slick was the appropriate nickname. So he has his career. It isn't that long one. He got traded. He was very hurt by that. He really loved Seattle, and he never flourished after that. Okay, but he loves Seattle. Spends the rest of his life there. Goes into education, and is a prominent social figure in the town. And I heard Michael Wilbon on Pardon the Interruption yesterday, who travels widely, say that he knows that when he would be in Seattle and Slick Watts would show up, the place would go crazy. They just love Slick Watts. And so, but it's a wonderful story. And once again, the what ifs and the old saw that, you and I know, and many people watching and listening know, it's the sad reality of American life, which is it ain't what you know, it's who you know. And in his case, if it wasn't for Bob Hopkins being Bill Russell's cousin, his entire career would never have materialized. Period. Okay.
Well, he was certainly he was deserving of the opportunity. Now, Oliver Miller, a younger man, but again, it's just too bad. Oliver
Miller was there was a little brief period when Arkansas was doing very well with Coach Richardson.
Right.
That they had these big guys who were of some girth who could shoot the ball. Oliver Miller was listed at 280. He was 6'9", and he could shoot the ball. Oliver Miller was ahead of his time. Oliver Miller would flourish today because Oliver Miller was a classic stretch 4 or 5, depending on how you want to use him. He was ahead of his time. He was a damn good shooter. There was only one problem with Oliver Miller that everyone knew, and everyone was right. He ate himself out of the league.
Right.
Ate himself out of the league. He could not control his appetite. There were estimates that he weighed not 280, but 380 in the end. Well, maybe I'm not going there, but he certainly was 3 bills. That's why he didn't have a long career. He could play. He was a good basketball player who sadly ate himself out of the league. He died at 54. I don't know what kind of, he had what illness. I forget what it was. But I'm just telling you, he was ahead of his time. He would flourish in today's league.
Yeah.
He could have kept his weight.
Sure. And I loved Arkansas. That was a great time with Nolan Richardson and so forth. I mean, that was.
Nolan, by the way, Nolan, I got to, I don't say I got to know him, but I spent a little time with him and a couple of times. And what an engaging film. What a wonderful story he is. I hope people, he is in the hall. He should be in the hall. And at least if he isn't, he should be. And I think he is.
The diagnosis with all was cancer. It was a form of cancer.
The guy was a winner. The guy was a winner beyond belief. He won everywhere. He won in high school. He won in junior college. He won at Division II, and he won and he won in the NBA. I mean, in college. Wonderful coach to Nolan Richardson.
Look, we're talking a lot about Celtic City. And whenever I watch Celtic City on HBO, I see the old garden. I even see some pictures of Bob Wright in the newspaper when he had black hair and it was long. And he was a hippie with the mustache. He looked like Derek Sanderson, for God's sakes. And then you see Hondo and you see Tommy in those crazy suits. And it makes me think about the times when we would go to games at the Old Garden, drive down from Rumford, Maine, just an easy 4.5-hour ride. Boom. And if you want to go to a Celtics game, or you want to have a memory like this with your kids, go to Gametime. It's a great app. You download it. Gametime is a new feature called Gametime Picks. Where getting tickets for your favorite team to see them play live is even easier. Gametime Picks filters out all the fluff. So you just get incredible deals on great seats. I mean, you don't have to go through like 1,000 different websites or deals. You just punch in what you want and it pops up. They have the super deal, which is always the best deal of the day. And with Gametime Picks, curation makes it easier to save on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Not just sporting events, but also you can get a little culture too. Toggling this feature shows the total up front, no surprise fees at checkouts. Plus, you get a panoramic view of the seat before you buy it. And they have the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Your purchase is covered by the most flexible customer service policy in the ticket industry. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's Game Time. Okay. And again, Oliver Miller passed away of cancer. So, Celtic City is up and running. We've seen episode 3. Later in the week, we'll be dropping an episode where we talk just about that. But I do want to focus on Dave Cowens because he was prominent in episode 3, and you were perhaps the closest member of the media with him. I found it really interesting with Dave, with the relationship that he had and the mutual respect with Spencer Haywood.
I was really gratified, if you will, because I'm so proprietary toward Dave that this dude hear Spencer Haywood rhapsodize about Dave and how good Dave was and how much he admired him, loved playing against him, etc. Yeah, that made me feel real good. And by the way, I once gave Spencer Haywood a ride to the airport, and I don't know how he ever got in my car, but that's another story. Okay, now Dave Cowens. I remember my first encounter. I was vaguely aware of him in college. Remember, when he was at Florida State, they were on probation, and he never got to play in the NCAA tournament. Okay, so that's number one. He never got to play in the tournament, and so he didn't get that kind of exposure.
Right.
That might have put him. But we knew there was this 6'9" guy that rebounded and the Celtics had, and of course the famous story, Red supposedly in one of his scouting missions, he went to see him play, I believe in Dayton, and Red kind of made a show of walking out after the first half, and people thinking he was unimpressed when it was, of course, just the opposite. Red was trying to let people think he was unimpressed. So, and trying to con people into drafting and not drafting him. And of course, the great luck of the draft, he was 4th, and guess who was 5th? Sam Lacey. Yeah, I think Celtic history would have been a little bit different. No offense, Sam, but you ain't Dave Cowens.
Right.
You never were. You're a nice big fella, but you're not Dave Cowens. Okay, it was the 4th pick of the 1970 draft, one of the most bountiful drafts in NBA history, by the way. We could do a whole segment someday, seriously, on this 1970 draft.
Well, I mean, Dave was co-rookie of the year with Jeff Petrie.
He was co-rookie of the year with Jeff Petrie, which of course angered me because I was upset. Dave Petrie was the best player on a crap team, and Dave was the guy who helped transform the Celtics into what they became in the 70s. But anyway, okay, I got a phone call in August of 1970, the summer of 70, after they drafted him. I got a phone call one night from a friend of mine of the Celtics, Michael. Now I can't even think of his name, but Michael, it'll come to me. I'm having a senior moment here. And he had just witnessed Dave Cowens in the Stokes game at Kutcher's Country Club in Monticello, New York. Yeah. The annual charity game played for the benefit of the late Maurice Stokes. He wasn't late at that point. And so Dave had gotten like X rebounds. He was like, if he wasn't the MVP, he was the best player on the floor. And Michael Burns, my friend, he was friendly. I was friendly with him, Celtic official. And he had seen the game, and he called to tell me, rave about Dave Cowens. And that was the first inkling I had. We might have something special. Even though I knew he'd be drafted 4th, I still didn't have a personal feel for him.
Right.
Okay. Well, then I go down to Red Auerbach's rookie camp, and I watch Dave Cowens play. And oh my God, Red has stolen the draft. That's what I'm thinking now. What a rebounder. I remember writing about him. In fact, he prompted me to sell an idea that was not normal then at the Boston Globe or in Boston sports, to have an off-season column on a sport. Off-season, not notes column, And so I wrote my very first NBA notes column in the summer of 70. And the lead was about this rookie sensation we're going to have, Dave Cowens. So I was, and Dave distinguished himself in a few other ways down there. There were folk stories about Dave's nighttime escapades in Marshfield, Mass. So, but I don't have the details, but I can assure you could find people who could provide them. Anyway, so he made quite a splash for himself on and off the court. And then when I got to meet him and know him, I hit it off with Dave, and he became, and I'd say this, I get this question, I go speak and I get a question, who's your favorite player who's your favorite player? And I said, well, my favorite player has to be Bird, and Havlicek's 1A, but my favorite all-around personality, my favorite subject that I ever covered, and he laps the field, is Dave Cowens. When you got to know Dave Cowens personally, and his outlook on life, and his curiosity about life, and his personality, and so the entire package of Hall of Fame player, electrifying style, and most intellectually curious player I ever covered. He's very high on the list for me. And of course, my favorite story that no one else has, I have an exclusive story, is that Dave Cowens retired in my hotel room.
Right.
And I've told that story a million times. I leave my book with it. But the long story short, it was 1980, and it was exhibition season, and we were in Terre Haute, anchored for 3 days while they were playing exhibitions against the Pacers. Gee, why did we go to Terre Haute? There was some guy named Bird on the team,
Yeah.
So that's where we anchored in Indiana. Well, Dave wasn't playing well, by the way, and he had a pretty poor game the night before in Indianapolis. But the next day we're in Terre Haute, and I go to the shoot around in the morning, and I go back to my room, and the 12 noon or so, and the door knocks. I'm on the phone, by the way, with Paul Silas, who was out in Seattle, and there stands Dave Cowens with his practice uniform on him, and holding a yellow legal pad, one of these. He's holding one of these. And I said, with some papers, I said, hi, come on in. What's up? Oh, you want to talk to Cowens, Silas? So he talks to Silas. I said, what's this? He hands it to me. It's a retirement statement. He's quitting right now. I said, what do you want with me? He said, well, you could put it in order. In other words, edit it a little bit if you need to. And can you get it? And then I love this one. Can you get it in the afternoon paper? That's when we still had an afternoon edition of the Globe. I said, yes, I can do that, and give me an hour or so, because I knew he could write. He had written something for us. It wasn't going to take a whole lot of fooling around with it. And what I finally came up with was about 85 to 90% Cowens and 10 to 15% Ryan. I paragraphed it. I punctuated it a little bit. And so now the kicker is, as he's going out the door from my room, after he hands me the sheet, he then turns around and says, do you mind if I call Red first?
I love that line.
Yeah, I think that's okay with me, Dave. So he calls Red, and the conversation is as follows. First of all, Red's secretary's name is Mary Faraday. Hi, Mary. It's Mary. It's Dave. May I speak to Red? Red, it's Dave. Remember what we talked about the other night? Well, I'm doing it. Okay, I'll see you back in Boston. Click. That's the conversation. So, and now part B is it's 4:00 and the bus is leaving to go to Evansville, where they're going to play the Bulls. And Dave hasn't told the team yet. He gets on the bus to announce that he's quitting, and goes up to Parrish, who's not playing well at all, and assured him he's going to be fine. You're going to be good. Don't worry, big fellow. You're going to be great. Blah blah blah. Gives him a pep talk. Okay, that's good. So the bus, he gets off the bus leaves, and he's standing there. And I said, what's up now? Well, I'm going home to Newport, Kentucky. Long story short, he didn't have a credit card on him, and he didn't have much money, which was typical. And I go to Avis, I get the car, I rent the car, and hand him the keys. Off he goes. So yeah, I'm a little bit proprietary to Dave Cowens.
I love the story. It's terrific. Okay, Bob, a final word. What's your overall impression of Celtic City?
I'm very, very, very impressed. Nothing's ever going to be perfect, obviously. There's always going to be omissions, and and that's understandable. What they have chosen to do, I think, is remarkable. But I'm not that surprised, because the brainchild behind it was Bill Simmons, and there's hardly anybody on this earth that has a passion for the Celtics greater than Bill Simmons. And so it's good. And plus, HBO, the production, the editing. My wife has mentioned, she's so right. The editing is phenomenal. The thing is, it's wonderful, and I can't believe there's still 6 more episodes. It's only 1/3 done, but I'm looking forward to the whole thing. I'm very impressed, and I would have gone into this as a hard marker, obviously, if they're going to, but they're living up to their reputation at HBO, and Bill is coming through as a producer with should be in there. So I'm really impressed.
All right, Bob, great job. Bob Bryan, Gary Tanguay. Jeff is on assignment this week, NCAA tournament, so he is not sleeping. Brought to you by Prizepicks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network. Pick more, pick less with Prizepicks.